I have a new TV show on Newsmax TV on Saturdays at 7:30. Tune in, you'll enjoy it.
For today's lunch alert, I'd like to read you from an article that just came out from a group called U.S. Right to Know, which is a nonprofit public health research group working to expose corporate wrongdoing and government failures that threaten our health. And it's an organization that I trust and is transparently non-political. I mean, not left or right. American researchers concealed their intention to conduct high-risk coronavirus research in Wuhan under lax safety standards from the Pentagon the year before the pandemic. A 2018 grant proposal called Project Defuse, co-authored by the Wuhan Institute of Virology and American scientists, has stoked concern that the pandemic resulted from a lab incident. It proposed engineering high-risk coronaviruses of the same species as SARS and SARS-CoV-2. Most worrying to scientists, the proposal involved synthesizing spike proteins with furin, F-U-R-I-N, cleavage sites, the same feature that supercharged SARS-CoV-2 into the most infectious pandemic pathogen in a century. Indeed, some scientists have likened defuse to a blueprint for generating SARS-CoV-2 in the lab. New documents obtained by the U.S. Right to Know now show that these experiments were proposed to occur in part in Wuhan, with fewer safety precautions than required in the U.S., apparently to save on costs. American scientists at the center of the lab leak theory controversy appear to have concealed this from their desired funder, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, in order to evade any national security concerns about doing high-level biosecurity work in China. The documents call into question the credibility of these scientists' assurances that the pandemic could not have sprung out of their collaboration on coronavirus engineering research with the lab in Wuhan. U.S. Right to Know has obtained an early draft of Defuse, that's the name of the proposal, with comments from PD, who's Peter Danzig, and BRS, who's Ralph S. Barrick. Danzig heads the EcoHealth Alliance, an organization that discovers novel viruses. And let me just say, has been heavily implicated in the development of the COVID virus and the failure to control it. He's been roundly condemned for that. Barrick helms the University of North Carolina lab with a focus on coronaviruses. Both Danzig and Barrick have worked with the Wuhan Institute of Virology on gain-of-function research, making coronaviruses more deadly or infectious. The formal Defuse grant proposal states that Barrick in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, will engineer the coronavirus spike proteins and test their ability to infect human cells. It's Frankensteinian. But in a comment on an early draft of the proposal, Danzig clarifies that the Wuhan Institute of Virology will in fact do much of the work, but that this is excluded from the formal proposal to make DARPA, the federal agency that's funding this, comfortable. The comment is addressed to Barrick and Wuhan Institute of Biology senior scientist Zhengli Shi. And the quote is from this letter. Ralph, Zhengli, if we win this contract, I do not propose that all of this work will necessarily be conducted by Ralph, which is to say in North Carolina. But I also want to stress the U.S. side of the proposal so that DARPA, the federal agency, is comfortable with our team, Danzig wrote. Once we get the funds, we can then allocate who does what exact work. I believe that a lot of these essays can be done in Wuhan as well. In another comment, Danzig said that he sought to downplay the non-U.S. focus of this proposal to DARPA, the government, by not highlighting the involvement of the Chinese researchers, Xi, and Duke NUS Medical School professor Linfa Wang. I'm planning to use my resume and Ralph's, Danzig wrote. Linfa Xingli, I realize your resumes are also very impressive, but I'm trying to downplay the non-U.S. focus of this proposal, so DARPA, the government, does not see this as a negative. In addition to the national security leaks conducting coronavirus research and testing in Wuhan, entailed greater biosafety risks, the American researchers privately acknowledged. This is outrageous. It should be the lead story in America, but nobody's covering it. I dug this out. One of my good friends in this industry sent this to me, and it really is horrible. Again, this entire pandemic was caused, in my judgment, by a combination of Chinese scientists working at the direction of their government to try to create a universal pandemic to bring Trump down and to end the confrontational policies the US was pursuing against China on human rights and trade issues. And the idea that was caused by a lab leak or from a backbite, I think, is fanciful. And I think the fact that Biden is covering this up is part of the quid pro quo for the money he received from China.